Ever since the Chinese rover Chang'e-5 landed on the moon, there has been growing evidence that this celestial body is very different from what we have long imagined, especially in its interior. The moon seems to hide a treasure that we had no idea about. Khan believe is the largest and most impressive part of the moon, one that anyone would be able to live to enjoy. Rover's shocking discovery could change our world forever. What exactly did Rover find deep inside the moon? Why could this discovery portend the end of climate catastrophe? We're about to look at it. Stay tuned, because we're about to change the way you look at this celestial body. To change the way you look at this celestial body forever. What did Chang'e-5 find on the moon? The Chang'e-5 mission landed on the moon on December 1, 2020, after a 23-day journey through space. The two-seat probe was launched from the Wenchang Cosmodrome in China's Hainan province, the same site that launched its predecessor probes Chang'e-3 and numerous satellites and component supply flights for China's space station. After successful separation of the orbiter, the Chang'e-5 landing module landed in the lunar region, which scientists call Oceanus Procellarum, an area near the lunar equator. Scientists call Oceanus Procellarum. This area near the lunar equator is a vast, flat area on the far side of the moon, characterized by extreme latitude and the proximity of the 5,250-foot-high Monstrunfavor mountain. The purpose of the Chang'e-5 mission was very clearly defined. The nearly 8-ton probe was to collect samples from the lunar surface and bring lunar rock back to Earth. For the first time in 40 years, for the first time in human history, this mission was to extract samples from the deep layers of the moon. In recent years, scientists have begun to realize that the moon may be very different from what we've long thought of it. After successful drilling, the landing module sent the samples back to its orbiter via the ascending module, and the return journey to Earth began after only 14 Earth days. This mission was hailed worldwide as a great achievement of Chinese space exploration, clearly elevating China to the ranks of the great space powers of our Earth. The return of the samples was eagerly awaited by international researchers. It is already possible to say the following: hopes for new revolutionary knowledge about the moon have been more than justified. Water and glass. On December 17, 2020, the re-entry capsule entered the Earth's atmosphere and successfully landed in the sparsely populated expanse of Mongolia. As soon as the samples were received, experts began work, eagerly waiting to see whether the drilling would confirm the existing theory of the moon's creation, or whether the lunar interior would reveal a completely different truth. Scientists believe that the planet Mars collided with the Earth more than 4 billion years ago, resulting in the formation of the moon during the collision. It happened because Mars and the moon were truly enlightened after their collision with each other. Mars collided with the Earth more than 4 billion years ago, resulting in the formation of the moon. During the collision, part of the Earth broke off and was covered with molten rock. Until now, it was assumed that the temperature was so high that all the water evaporated forever. In recent months and years, telescopes from probes have discovered large deposits of water ice in craters near the lunar poles. Discord changed, and everyone began to wonder where the ice on the moon came from and why it had never been seen in more than 50 years of intensive study of the moon. NASA plans to send astronauts near the poles in the next 10 years as part of the Artemis mission. Once there, the astronauts will determine whether the water deposits on the moon can be used. The planned permanent stations on the moon could provide water for humans to grow plants and also be used to make fuel. Now, a discovery made by Chang'e-5 could completely scuttle all those plans, as the rover has discovered a seemingly impossible amount of water on the small, inconspicuous celestial body. In drilling samples, researchers from the Chinese Academy of Sciences found an unusually high density of tiny glass particles. These tiny glass crystals most likely formed when meteorites hit the moon. The comet's capture could also have brought water to the moon, which is now frozen at the poles. Because inside the beads, they found water. Each particle contains just a tiny amount of water, but the mass of water on the moon is enormous. You can imagine the amount of water on the moon. It sounded unusual to us too, but a Chinese study leaves no doubt. Each individual crystal contains 2,000 parts water to 1 million parts water. So as you can see, it's very small, and the beads aren't even a millimeter in size, but the bulk of it is water. Now get ready, because if you translate that concentration to the entire moon, each metric ton of lunar soil contains 2,400 pounds of water. In Earth's liquid state, that's practically equivalent to 634 gallons, which is a lot. The odds are good that these glass particles are evenly distributed throughout the moon. After all, the entire moon has been bombarded by comets, asteroids, and meteorites for billions of years, so it follows that the moon could be teeming with water from the equator to the poles, so future manned missions to the moon don't necessarily have to land at the poles and then laboriously try to dispose of the water ice there. The water from these balls can be easily extracted by conventional heating, thus providing the lunar settlers with fresh water anywhere on the celestial body. During further research, Chinese scientists were even able to demonstrate that the water contained within the lunar crystals was once produced by the sun. According to the theory, positively charged hydrogen atoms from the solar wind made their way into the glass beads and mixed with the oxygen they contain. A study of the different types of hydrogen atoms in the samples has shown that these glass beads can also release some of their hydrogen charge at high temperatures when they are heated by solar radiation. The total amount of water wealth in the form of impacted glass beads is currently estimated to be about 291 billion tons. In 2010, NASA estimated the water quota at the moon's north pole at 661 million short tons. Compared to previous assumptions that the moon was bone dry, this is truly enormous, even compared to our Earth. The abundance of water is impressive. It is estimated that our blue house of water and rock contains about 1.47 quintillion short tons of water. Now you're probably wondering if there will ever come a moment when this lunar ice melts, or the moon could become a landscape with rivers, lakes, and entire oceans through chemical or mechanical changes in the water glass beads. Of course, we have also asked ourselves this question and researched it. Although such ideas would be fantastic, but unfortunately, it is unlikely that water can be run over the surface of the moon. The moon has practically no atmosphere, extreme temperature, and only very low atmospheric pressure. Water can liquefy only under certain conditions, and these conditions do not exist on the moon. Excessive heat will keep the liquid inside the moon longer than known as the moon liquid atmosphere. Since the moon is not particularly dense and has only a very weak magnetic field, it is also not expected to change in the future. It is a different story with Mars. Where liquid water once flowed, traces of erosion have repeatedly confirmed this, and the audacious terraforming plans are aimed at turning the particularly frozen Martian water at the poles into liquid water and thus into seas and lakes by means of an artificially induced greenhouse effect. Turn especially frozen Martian water at the poles into liquid water and consequently into seas and lakes. But back to the moon. The fascinating findings of Chinese astronauts have revealed other things than just water in the glass beads. The latest exciting discovery could soon trigger a real breakthrough in lunar exploration. Can it solve our energy problems? The samples collected by the Chinese space probe are unique. Taken from deep underground, they are about 1 billion years older than all the samples collected from the surface by astronauts during the US Apollo program. It is likely that these glass beads were formed mostly in the last 2 billion years by massive impacts from meteorites, asteroids, and comets. To create the necessary temperatures, the size of the impact is roughly comparable to an asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs some 68 million years ago. The moon, being a relatively small celestial body, has been subjected to massive cosmic impacts throughout its history, and it is surprising that it has survived these bombardments so well. Throughout its history, the moon has been subjected to massive cosmic impacts, and it's amazing that it has survived these bombardments so well, Fryer said. Researchers believe that this is due in part to its low density and thick, shock-absorbing dust layer. The moon's tumultuous life may have produced a number of features from which we may benefit greatly in the future. the Cheniere 5 spacecraft has discovered another crystal in lunar rock, and it may prove significant because this lunar crystal is made of a substance that was previously completely unknown. The researchers were amazed and dumbfounded at the same time when they noticed that this structure contains a crucial component for nuclear fusion. For those who are not quite familiar with nuclear energy, it is worth noting at this point that the Earth's energy problem will be solved as soon as we have the capability for nuclear fusion. So far, we have used the principle of nuclear fission to satisfy our enormous energy hunger. But the radioactive waste it generates has become a massive problem. Atomic nuclei are fused into heavier nuclei, releasing much more energy than nuclear fission, and the residue is radiation-free. Physicists around the world have been working on this technology for decades, but so far without success, because the pressure and therefore the energy required to fuse the nuclei exceeds the energy gain. The problem would be solved instantly if we could find minerals that inherently have an increased readiness for fusion, and that's exactly what just happened. A phosphate mineral has been isolated and named after the mission of the Chinese moon goddess Chang'e. A future study at Beijing's Uranium Geology Research Institute will show whether the fusion-ready helium-3 isotope can be used on Earth. So maybe soon mining will start on the moon. Craft will deliver rock to Earth every day, and our planet will be able to take a break for now. But we don't know that yet. The Shanhu 6 mission is due to start in 2024. At present, the development is being closely watched, and of course NASA has also taken notice. Experts have calculated that the USA can generate energy for a year using about 27.6 short tons of helium-3. This easily matches the cargo volume of the space shuttle. It is estimated that the economic value of the moon's helium-3 is $3 billion per short ton. In fact, this discovery could spark a gold rush and attract many. Some major energy corporations have already expressed interest in NASA to invest in future space missions. This could mean that NASA's Artemis program will get a significant boost. We are now saying goodbye to you. And lastly, we want to know what you think about the moon as a resource for the Earth. Do you think that solving our energy problems on the moon is only a matter of time or maybe fate? Or do you believe that renewable energy or free energy like Tesla wanted to use would be a better alternative? Subscribe to the channel and give us a like. It's not hard for you and it's very important for the development of our young channel. Thank you for watching.